everybody, I'm Chantal Lascaris and welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to be doing a 15-minute gourmet meal, and today's dish is called pomegranate and garlic lamb loin chops. We're going to serve that with a little side salad, and I think you're going to really like it. As we said, it's 15 minutes, so it's super quick. So let's get started. We're going to start by putting in some olive oil into a bowl with some hefty amounts of garlic, which is why it's called why the word garlic is actually in the name of the recipe. I'm just going to give that a bit of a whisk together, and then we're going to actually brush that over the lamb chops. I'm going to season the lamb chops afterwards, otherwise when you're brushing it on, you're brushing the salt and pepper off. So there we go. Just put that to the side. I like to use fairly flat lamb chops on this. Should I move this to the side rather? I think that's probably better, more in focus. So I'd like to use flattish lamb chops here because otherwise it just takes a little long to cook, and we're trying to do this in our 15 minutes. There we go. Also, I like to use loin chops. They've got a little bit more meat on them. But if you want to use the nice little braai ones, then feel free to do so. I'm going to just turn them over. There we go. Lamb's such a versatile dish, I must say, or a meat actually. It's very tasty. I know a lot of people like meats like fillet. I know my husband loves fillet, but I find although it's nice and tender, it doesn't really carry all the flavors that other meats do. And with lamb, obviously it's got a lot more fat in it, and that's actually what's giving you all the tastiness and yumminess. There we go, we're ready for that. So I've now basted the lamb chops with our garlic and olive oil, and I'm just going to give this a lovely good seasoning. Lovely salt, good dose of pepper. I love putting a lot of pepper onto my meat. It sort of adds to the flavors. And we're just going to turn them over and do the same on the other side. And then I'm going to leave these for a few minutes just while I'm busy doing the baby marrows. This gives this time, just a little bit of time to sort of soak in a bit. There we go. I got sticky fingers here. I can feel it. There we go. Perfect. So now we're going to leave these, as I mentioned, and I have got us some baby marrows or zucchini. They go by various names, but they're all the same thing. And as you can see, I've actually peeled them quite finely, if you can see that, and I've used a vegetable peeler. I know a lot of people think, oh, let's use a mandolin, but to be honest, I'm a little scared of a mandolin. I've cut all my nails off on those before, so I give those a miss, and there's nothing wrong with a veggie peeler. Just slice them, and look at that, so nice and easy. We're now going to put these into the same pan that we're going to cook the lamb chops. I kind of feel, why mess two pans when you can actually only use one? So here we go. Just a drizzle of olive oil so that it doesn't stick too much. And we're just going to pop these into this pan. There we go. Here I've probably used about 4 to 6 baby marrows because obviously with them being finely sliced, they actually don't look like there's a lot. So this way you can actually, it still looks quite substantial. Otherwise looks a bit mean. We're going to just leave these for a little bit. While it's doing that, I think I'll just give it a bit more seasoning, because they can always do with a touch of that. I tend to under-season my food, but I always feel that people can actually add more salt if they want, but you definitely need to add some sort of seasoning. Otherwise the food is very bland. I'm going to leave those. We don't want them to get too soft because they're already quite fine, and we'll leave them while we cook the lamb chops. And that's kind of why I called it a salad, because although we're using a vegetable, we're mixing it with some feta as well. So you can leave it at room temperature. It doesn't have to be served ice cold like you think you would sometimes with the summer salad. So we're just going to check on these now, see how they're doing. There we go. And as soon as they're ready, I'm going to take them off and put them to one side. I've just taken the baby marrows off the pan, and as you can see, they've got this lovely green color to them, and as I mentioned, they're not overcooked. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our lamb chops into the pan, and we're going to let them sit there and cook for a few minutes. Don't move them around too much. You want to get that nice seared look on your lamb, and then after a few minutes flip them over and do the same again. Let's give it a go. You're going to hear a lovely nice sound as the olive oil hits the pan, which is exactly what you want to hear. I have to raise my voice over it even. There we go. And we'll let the heat and the meat do its thing, and then we'll flip them over. Once you've turned your chops over, put a lid on it, because actually what that does is it works more like a convection oven. I've just turned mine over, and it lets all the juices sort of stay in and create a few more juices, which is exactly what you want. You don't want dry, horrible lamb chops. Also, what's going to happen is once I've cooked them to the way I like them, they're going to be nice and brown on the outside and probably a little pink in the middle, which is how I like to eat them. I'm going to take them off and I'm going to let them rest. Now, you might have heard that you must always let your meat rest, and there's a very, very good reason for that, because when you are cooking the meat, you're agitating all the juices, and then if you cut it immediately, all those juices are going to run out immediately, and your meat is going to land up being very dry and tough, and the last thing you want is tough meat. So if you let it rest, it allows all the juices to just come back in and settle down. And then after about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the size of the steak or the chop. So with chops, we can probably let them rest for a little less time than you would say a piece of fillet steak. Just let it rest, keep it warm, and let all those juices come back together and give you a beautiful, juicy piece of meat. So there we go. We're going to now take them off and let them rest. Oh, you can still hear that sizzle. You saw the steam coming up. And we're going to take them off lovely and brown, which is what we wanted to achieve. And there's still juice in the pan, which we're going to use. We're going to let that rest for a few minutes. I've just taken the lamb chops off, and as you can see, they've got that beautiful brown color to them, and there's lots of steam rising. I wish you could smell it. It is delicious. It's making my tummy rumble. So if you hear a funny noise, it's probably my hungry tummy. It's nearly lunchtime here, so I can't wait to tuck into these. But that's enough of me. Now we're going to make the little reduction sauce. I've got some lovely pomegranate juice. If you can't find pomegranate juice, because not sometimes that you can find it everywhere, I can't always get it in my local supermarket. But if you're struggling, then I would say maybe use a cranberry juice just in case. But what we're going to do now is I'm just pouring it into the pan. You hear it's still a little bit of a sizzle because the pan was still quite hot from the meat. And we're just going to let it reduce slightly. I'm just using the same little goodie. Just like that. And I've switched the heat off, otherwise it's going to bubble away too much. And then we're going to be ready to plate. We're going to let this sit for a few more minutes, and then I'll show you how to serve it. Right, so I have my pomegranate sauce, we've got the lamb chops, we've got our baby marrows, and we're ready to dish up. So I've taken a longer plate because I think it's got a nice shape to it, and we're just going to put the 2 chops, or if you're doing it for just one person, or you can decide how many per person you want to do. And then all I'm going to do is just put a little dab of our touch of our baby marrow, and you can see the lovely contrasting colors happening here. And then what I've done is I've cut some red onion, quite finely sliced. We'll just put a few of those pieces onto the baby marrow, just like so. You don't want to put too much on because you don't want the red onion, even though it's a sweeter onion than the normal yellow ones, you don't want to overpower the flavors. And just to finish off, I'm just going to put a few little leaves of fresh thyme on. I think that's such a lovely mix with the baby marrow and the thyme together. Let's just do a little bit more. There we go. And then what we'll do is take some feta and just lightly crumble it over the baby marrow, just like that. And you've got all these lovely colors happening. And then I just need to get a teaspoon, bear with me. There we go. And now we're going to actually, before I do that, let's pour over the sauce. We've got this lovely pomegranate reduction happening here. Just a little bit over the lamb chops. And then let's scatter over some of these pomegranate rubies. It's lovely. These, you can actually get them quite easily nowadays, which is so lovely. Before you used to have to really look for them everywhere. And let's do that. And just finally, to end off, just a little sprig or two of parsley on top of your lamb chops, just to bring a bit more color in. And there you have it, your beautiful pomegranate flavored lamb chops. I hope you enjoy.